Today is Wednesday, August 30th. We have an update about Hurricane Idalia's strength and potential impact on Florida's coast in what the National Weather Service has called an unprecedented event. Also, we'll explain the new rules coming for Medicare that are expected to lower drug prices. Plus, how the FBI helped bring down one of the most destructive cybercriminal tools in history. Why blue-collar workers are seeing their paychecks grow faster than white-collar workers these days. And which sport just got a brand new women's league. Those stories and even more news to know in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, Hurricane Idalia is getting stronger and more dangerous over the Gulf of Mexico. And this morning, it's expected to make landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast as an extremely powerful Category 4 storm. That means 130-mile-an-hour winds at least, and a massive storm surge of up to 15 feet. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis says a storm surge of that magnitude is not something people in that part of Florida have ever seen in their lifetimes. Plus, there could be severe flooding and even tornadoes. Millions of people were told to evacuate for higher ground. Businesses, schools, and airports shut down. The worst is expected in Florida's Big Bend region, which stretches from Tampa to just south of Tallahassee. Once the storm comes on shore, it's expected to keep going through Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas with torrential rains. Thousands of National Guard troops, search and rescue teams, and power crews from 20 states have been sent to the areas expected to be most impacted so they can get right to work. Florida also has pre-positioned high-water vehicles, aircraft, thousands of gallons of fuel, and Starlink internet dishes to help in the aftermath of this storm. For the first time, Medicare will be allowed to start negotiating drug prices. And this week, the U.S. government named some of the most widely used and costliest medicines in America as the first 10 they'll be haggling over. They include treatments for cancer, diabetes, and heart disease that can cost tens of thousands of dollars a year or more. Medicare spent an estimated $50.5 billion for the same 10 medications last year. Well, price cuts after negotiations are expected to slash that cost in half. A quick reminder, Medicare is government-run health insurance for people 65 and older and some younger people with disabilities. And now Medicare says it plans to use the savings to put a $2,000 a year cap on how much any members have to pay for any out-of-pocket drugs starting in 2025. Then, new prices for those 10 drugs will take effect in 2026, and more drugs will be added to the list in the years after that. But all of this depends on how lawsuits play out as well. Drug makers and business trade groups have sued over Medicare's new negotiating powers. They say negotiations will curb research, and they say they already discount many of the listed drugs anyway. Right now, Medicare provides health insurance to 65 million people, including 57 million seniors. Another one of President Biden's cabinet members made a rare visit to China this week in hopes of easing tensions. This time it was Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. She told Chinese officials the U.S. is not looking to end economic ties with China and will not hold China's economy back. But she did also express some concerns. Raimondo says the American business community has been worried about long-running issues like intellectual property theft, as well as some newer issues like recent business raids, a new counter-espionage law, and large fines that seemingly come out of nowhere. She says it's those kinds of things that are making U.S. business leaders describe China as uninvestable or too risky. But China is more focused on what it wants from the U.S., like fewer export controls on advanced technology, and getting rid of a ban on new American investments in Chinese technologies. The U.S. says it doesn't want Americans funding anything that might be used to help China's military or intelligence community. So the secretary and her Chinese counterpart did not come to any agreements other than to hold regular discussions moving forward. India already made history by becoming the first country to land on the south pole of the moon. And now it's the first to actually make some scientific observations there, too. India's moon rover confirmed the presence of sulfur and several other elements like iron, calcium, oxygen, and more. They could all end up being resources for future astronaut missions. Though the ultimate goal for India is to find frozen water, and its rover is still on the hunt. Speaking of the moon, tonight is a good night to check it out, even from Earth. A rare blue supermoon is rising, and NASA says you won't have the chance to see another one until 2037. Supermoon refers to a full or new moon that rises when the moon's orbit is closest to Earth. NASA says supermoons can basically appear slightly larger and brighter than a typical full moon. Though blue moon is not actually about the color, it's just used to describe a second full moon in a single calendar month. Tonight's super blue moon is expected to reach its peak at around 9:30 Eastern. Making it even more special, you may also spot Saturn peeking from behind. You should be able to see it by just looking up. We have more news for you still coming up, but first, support for today's episode comes from Miracle Made. One of my favorite feelings is getting into a clean, cozy bed at the end of the day. And my new Miracle Made sheets helps make that happen so much more often. First of all, these NASA-inspired silver-infused sheets prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, meaning my sheets are cleaner and smelling better for 3 times longer than other sheets. Which, by the way, is better for my skin, too, since bacteria can clog pores and cause breakouts. Plus, these are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. So go to trymiracle.com/newsworthy to try Miracle Made sheets today. And if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo Newsworthy at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/newsworthy and use the code newsworthy to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/newsworthy to treat yourself. The busiest subway station in New York City was flooded this week, as well as several midtown streets. But this time, weather was not to blame. Instead, it was a 127-year-old water main that gave way under Times Square. Videos posted on social media show floods rushing through the subway station, down the stairwells, and through ventilation grates. The trenches that carry subway tracks turned into mini rivers, and train platforms were soaked. The whole thing upended the morning commute for hundreds of thousands of people, while workers dug with heavy equipment just to get to the broken section of pipe. Thankfully, no one was hurt in this, and now all trains are running again. Crews are still investigating what exactly might have caused the break. It's considered a major blow to cybercrime. The FBI says it worked with European partners and was able to seize control of an infamous global malware network. Criminals have apparently been using it for more than 15 years to launch cyber attacks. For example, ransomware attacks against critical industries, financial and elder fraud, data theft, and more. Overall, the FBI says the network has caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. But not anymore. The FBI and its partners say they were able to trick computers infected with the malware into downloading and distributing a file that directed computers to basically leave the criminal network. Officials did name several top ransomware groups who have used it to support their crimes, including one of the most prolific and feared cybercriminal groups in the world. So now the investigation continues. Meta says it's taken down the largest known online influence operation in the world. It apparently spread pro-China messages and criticized the U.S. and Western foreign policies. Meta says it used a sprawling network of fake accounts across more than 50 websites, from Facebook and Instagram to YouTube, X, TikTok, Reddit, Pinterest, and dozens more. But even though the network was so large, Meta says it never had a very large following of real people. Still, Meta removed thousands of Facebook and Instagram accounts connected to the campaign. Separately, Meta says it's going to keep taking down fake accounts and ban fake websites connected to a Russian influence campaign aimed at ending support for Ukraine. Apparently, that campaign has even been impersonating real news outlets like the Washington Post and Fox News. It's also created fake websites claiming to represent NATO, Polish and Ukrainian governments, and more. But like the Chinese operation, Meta says this one hasn't gained much traction either, in part because the fake accounts it uses are pretty obviously fake. In the past, both the Chinese and Russian governments have denied targeting Americans with online influence campaigns. But of course, social media sites say they're still on the lookout. The Venice Film Festival kicks off today, marking the start of the fall film season. And it's especially exciting since it's known as the place where many potential Oscar-winning films debut. This year, the lineup includes Bradley Cooper's Maestro about Leonard Bernstein, Sofia Coppola's Priscilla about Elvis Presley's wife, Michael Mann's Ferrari about the famous Italian carmaker Enzo Ferrari, and many more. And despite the ongoing actors' strike in Hollywood, a lot of big stars are going to be there to promote their movies. Actors like Adam Driver, Jessica Chastain, and George Clooney have all gotten a pass from the union since they are in indie productions that were not produced by the studios they're up against right now. There are plenty of other stars who had to back out this year, though. But most of their movies are still going to debut. The Venice Film Festival runs through September 9th. Sports fans, get ready for a whole new league to follow. This week, the Professional Women's Hockey League was officially launched as the only pro women's hockey league in North America. The PWHL will start off with 6 teams across the U.S. and Canada in Minnesota, New York, Boston, Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto. Though you can't get a jersey just yet, since there are not yet details about team names or logos. The exact schedule also hasn't been announced yet, but we know it will include 24 games. As far as the rosters go, the initial free agency signing period starts on Friday, and the PWHL's very first season is going to kick off in January. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Lume Deodorant. Want to smell better, longer? Lume is a doctor-created, uniquely formulated pH-balanced deodorant that is clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours. And let's face it, underarms are not the only place we may deal with odor. Think stinky feet after a long day at work. In fact, Lume is pH-balanced so that it's safe to use anywhere and everywhere on your body if you want to. It's also aluminum-free, baking soda-free, and paraben-free. You can choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. Honestly, I was looking for a better deodorant because my old one was just not working anymore. And I was really pleasantly surprised and excited at how effective Lume is. Lume's starter pack is perfect for new customers, too. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes that I like as well, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lume starter pack with code NEWSWORTHY at LumeDeodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit LumeDeodorant.com and use that code NEWSWORTHY. Lume, L-U-M-E, deodorant.com with code NEWSWORTHY. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. So over the last 3 years, paychecks for blue-collar workers are actually growing faster than white-collar workers' wages. Yes, white-collar workers, think jobs in finance, tech, and law, still make more money overall than blue-collar workers, think jobs in restaurants, hotels, retail, and construction. But the pay gap is shrinking. Incomes are now growing faster for blue-collar, lower-income workers. And the Wall Street Journal reports that's a big reversal from a decades-long trend. So why is this happening? What's going on? Economists say once the economy started recovering from the pandemic, people got out faster than companies could rehire. Some blue-collar workers chose to retire during the pandemic instead of return to work, and immigration slowed down. All of this meant fewer blue-collar workers available during an increased need for those jobs, and therefore, higher pay offered. Meanwhile, a lot of the layoffs we saw in the last couple of years have been white-collar jobs, like in tech. So some experts say this boost in blue-collar pay may actually be helping to stave off a recession, though it's not guaranteed to last, as the Federal Reserve is still hoping to slow wage growth to bring down inflation. Well, thank you so much for listening today and for sharing the show. We'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.